joining us right now, and it's great to have him on, is Art Del Cuerto, Vice President of the National Border Patrol Council. Art, great to have you, man.
Hey, thanks, man. I really appreciate you having me on.
Hey, you're the man. What you think of the president's speech last night?
Well, I think it was fantastic. It was an eye opener, and I'll tell you what, I was more than honored when he pointed out that members of the National Border Patrol Council were there. I am one of the spokesmen for the council, but realistically, what I always tell people is it has nothing to do with me. It's not about me. It's about the agents that I'm able to represent, and at the end of the day, it's about America. But I'll tell you what, when we left that place, it took every single bit of restraint, and hats off to the members of the National Border Patrol Council that were with me. They showed great restraint at the disgusting, vile comments that were being made by some of those individuals. At some point, when we were walking back to a hotel, we ran into Dan Bongino. He was with his wife, and it was disgusting, the things that were being said to him and to his wife. Where at that point we walked with him to ensure, to one point make sure that he was safe. But I'll tell you what, halfway to the hotel, I realized that we were walking to keep the protesters safe, because if Dan would have got a hold of one of those guys, they would have been in serious pain. But it's unbelievable. I mean, honestly, it's unbelievable. The racial slurs, the attacks, the people, the way these individuals were acting, and it was black protesters, it was white protesters, it was Hispanic protesters, it was of all kinds. They started yelling, racial slurs. The Hispanic people were yelling racial slurs towards the Hispanic females that were with us from the National Border Council. There was a point where a couple of the black men there surrounded one of the black guys that's with us from the National Border Patrol Council and started, yelling racial slurs to them. It's amazing how disgusting these people have become.
Art, I share that with you. I was there last night, and we were telling the story all day. Just trying to get out of there was horrific and disgusting, and that's really the word for it, because you got two aspects of this. Number one, you have a lot of people that actually feared for their safety. I'm saying all day, I'm a big guy. I didn't have my wife with me, so I was not one of those. But it was still gross. I mean, I got a soda can thrown at me that I ducked out of the way. Spit on several times. I came home, I have to shower. I mean, it's just disgusting. But a lot of people feared for their life. I mean, there were women that were petrified to go 2 blocks to their hotel, and there were no cops around. That was the other thing. I mean, the cops were at the perimeter, but then the streets were abandoned and turned over to the mobs.
Yeah, and no knock on the police officers out here in D.C., but I thought it was strange. You pretty much walked out of the event, and it was like, here, jump in with the sharks.
You're on your own.
I mean, I think in this case it was more like guppies, but there was sure a lot of them, mm-hmm. and that's when it can get into problems. But yeah, I mean, you're right. There was just so many people. There was a group that we walked with, and then their hotel was several miles. So Brandon Judd, who's the president of the National Border Patrol Council, and myself, we walked them several more miles on our own to make sure they got to safety, mm-hmm. Because it was honestly that bad. But you know what really struck me? Mm-hmm. It bothered me, and I knew how it was, and I've done speaking events in Arizona where I've had protesters. Mm-hmm. But what really struck me is when I got back to my hotel and I put the news on, and it happened to my channel opened on CNN, and I said, you know what, I'm going to give them a chance and see what they have to say about things. They were talking about how these people were just protesting and their freedom of speech. They mentioned nothing about the vile comments that we're making, about how horrible they were, how they were stopping people from walking, bumping. They did not mention anything bad that these people were doing. And honestly, all I saw was bad from these individuals.
Well, because it's fake news and they lie. I mean, and you're right. I mean, even the Washington Post headline today, peaceful protesters at Trump's speech. I mean, how is it peaceful when you can't get 2 blocks to your hotel without fear for your life, as some people did? How is it peaceful when they're throwing beer cans and soda cans at you? How is it peaceful when they're spitting on you? How is it peaceful when they're, F this, F that, every slur imaginable? And I got the same thing. How is that peaceful? Define peaceful. Like, so if you're not shot or you don't throw a bomb into the liquor store and loot, it's peaceful? I mean, is that where we are now?
Yeah, and then you turn around and you defend yourself, to be honest. You turn around, you have these people that are so close to you in your face, and then if you push them back or defend yourself, that'll start, a fight. And in the end, that film will be there'll be so much editing that it makes you be the bad guy. And that's just what's horrible. And you'll be persecuted by a lot of members of the media for defending yourself realistically, or defending the honor of the people you're with.
Art, what you just said. See, that went through my mind, Art. You're so right. So I'm walking last night. Somebody threw, F this, F that, white guy, fat guy, all this, right? So I'm called all this stuff. Somebody throws a can at me, right? I duck out of the way. Okay, you hurl a soda can at somebody, right. A full soda can. I mean, that's like a missile. I mean, that's like a rock. I duck out of the way.
That can kill you.
Yeah.
That can kill you.
I duck out of the way, and my first thought is, all right, I've had it with this crap. But they've all got their cell phones on, so like they're baiting me. They're baiting me to react, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm Trump delegation chairman of Virginia. I have a high profile. I have a radio show.
Yep.
I go on TV. Yep. I'm representing the campaign. I'm in a suit and tie.
You can't win.
And they've got their phones on, baiting me. They want me to react to them. And so what happens is I simply kept walking, right? Because you can't defend yourself, because then you get shamed on social media, and they're going to say that, and they're not going to show the can thrown at you. They're not going to show the F word. They're going to show you reacting to it and say, oh, here's a Trump guy.
Angry white man.
Angry white man. So, I mean, you're intimidated into non-action, right? I mean, and there was a second instance.
Hold you back.
They hold you back. There was a second instance where I stopped on a corner in front of a hotel. I think it was a Club Quarters hotel or something, to see if I could get, to see where I was going to put on my directional. So I just stood there. And two young guys come on each side of me, just stand there. And I'm like, you guys need something or what? And it was like, I was in no mood by then. And like, they got their cameras out. And I'm like, get away from it now, right? And I just walked away. But again, they're looking for me to push them, shove them, something, right? Because why are you standing sandwiching me on a street corner where there's nobody there? You want a reaction so you can put it on social media. This is the environment that we live in today with these mobs.
Yeah, they're wannabe tough guys. They're telephone tough guys is what I like to call them, because they're tough when their phones are out. But one-on-one in a real life situation, in a real street situation, if you're walking and people surround you, where I come from, that is, you're inciting violence, and now my life is in danger, so I need to project violence back in order to defend myself. But you're right. The problem is they'll edit film, they'll make you be the bad guy, and that's where some of these problems are. But I mean, it was disgusting, man. I can't say enough of how horrible it was, how disgusting these people are. And at the end of the day, you're right. Look at yourself. You're a successful individual, and you have more to lose, and the worst they can lose is their $35 bike and their bottle of patchouli oil that they're carrying in their back pocket.
Art, you're back. We're with Art Del Cuerto. He's the vice president of the National Border Patrol Council. Also, we have with us one of our callers in D.C. I got to turn her mic on. She popped into the studio, brought breakfast over. Thank you, Christine, for doing that. We appreciate it. Art, so where do we go from here, Art?
Moving forward, I think it's a pretty easy thing to decide. Do you want lawlessness in this country, or do you want somebody that upholds the law, somebody that wants to hold criminals accountable, or somebody that just, pretty much ignores it, puts their blinders on, or realistically probably doesn't know what's going on? That's where we go from here. This is a country of laws. That's what we're built on, and it was evident last night that if we don't go in the right direction this election, we're going to be in trouble as a country, and I don't think anybody wants that. And I pretty much I do a lot of interviews and I talk about border security and defending our nation's borders, and you hear different views from a lot of individuals. But this is what I tell people: it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're in. You want security at your home. You want security for your family. When you do something as simple as go to a grocery store, you lock your car door, and you do that because you care about your things and you care about your family. And our nation's borders shouldn't be any different. We lock our doors at night because we love the people inside, not because we hate the people outside.
Well, like the president said last night, Art, he said and he's been saying this for many years, if you don't have borders, you don't have a country, basically. And what the Democrats want is, of course, open borders. They want no borders. They want nothing, and they want to just have, illegals come in, and then they can get them to vote. So they have Democrat majorities, and they're in power in perpetuity. I mean, that's their goal. Everybody knows what it is. It's the unholy alliance between Democrats that want open borders for cheap votes and the old Republicans, Goldman Sachs, Wall Street, gangster banksters that want open borders for cheap labor so they can get more higher bonuses. I mean, it's been going on for 50 years. One thing that Ivanka said last night, and a lot of people have criticized her speech. I mean, I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was fine until all these people started texting me and said that her speech wasn't any good. I'm like, well, I mean, I was there right in front of her. But one thing she said last night that I thought was one of the best lines was Washington didn't change my father. My father changed Washington. I thought that was a great line, and it really set things up, I thought, for the president, Art.
Well, that was a great line, and she should have introduced him and did it short. But, Art, how many long...
Oh, you guys were just mad because it was too long?
It was just too long, yeah.
Oh, come on,
it was
you guys
supposed to be an introduction. We want to hear from the president. But, Art, how many law enforcement people attended last night? There was quite a big section of you, wasn't there?
Oh, there was quite a few of us from the National Border Patrol Council. There was 14, I believe, that were present from all over the country, in Texas, the northern border, and in Arizona. So, yeah, there was quite a few. And, I'm proud to say that the National Border Patrol Council was it may be the first. I know it was one of the first to have backed up, law enforcement-wise, to back up President Trump during the primaries of last election.
Yeah, I remember that's when I met you in 2016. It was the first time the Border Patrol Union, because it's the union, got behind the president.
Yeah, well, we say council because it sounds a little better. Christine?
I know, right? All right, listen.
Yeah, you say union, it turns some people off. but you're right.
People don't understand, and the media, of course, is ignoring how much law enforcement is behind